2,500 members, we are now one of the leading startup event organizations in Dubai. Startup Grind is a global startup community designed to educate, inspire, and connect entrepreneurs. We host monthly events in more than 185 cities with a network of 215,000 entrepreneurs, featuring successful local founders, innovators, educators, and investors. We share personal stories and lessons learned on the road to building great companies. Our monthly fireside chats, startup mixers, and annual conferences provide ample opportunities to connect with amazing startups and the people behind them. Tap into a strong support network for meaningful connections and gain inspiration for the startup journey ahead. For more information, you can visit startupgrind.com or follow us on Twitter at startupgrind. I'm Amelia Gundersen-Herman, and I'm the event coordinator for Startup Grind Dubai. Outside of Startup Grind, I'm also an event manager. Keep an eye out for my upcoming article in Entrepreneur Middle East about what the experience of being a female entrepreneur in MENA is like. Tonight, I will be speaking with Amira Rashad, the regional head of brand advertising at Facebook Middle East, North Africa, and Pakistan. Ms. Rashad has more than 20 years of experience in strategy, operation, and marketing across media, consumer products, and services sectors in the US, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Working with major national and international organizations, she has led teams at PepsiCo, Yahoo, Dun & Bradstreet, and Leo Burnett Advertising. A regular speaker at key regional events on digital media and women's issues, Ms. Rashad is a UK Foreign Office Chevening Scholar. She is an MBA graduate of Harvard Business School and a board member of Tech Wadi in Silicon Valley. Would everyone please join me in giving a warm welcome to Amira. As always, would everybody please keep their questions in mind, and we'll allow the last 10 minutes for a Q&A. So, Amira, could you start by telling us your career story and what led you to Dubai, Facebook, and Tech Wadi?
Sure. So, like most undergrads, I had no clue what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I graduated and was thinking mostly about my summer plans. When my mother actually was looking to rent the property that she had, kind of came across a gentleman who wanted to rent it, and that gentleman worked for Leo Burnett. She basically said, I have a daughter who just graduated, do you mind giving her a job? And he said, yeah, why not? You're starting. So I joined. And it was a bit of a baptism by fire exercise because the folks who interviewed me ended up leaving the company a couple of weeks after I joined. So yours truly was account manager, janitor, managing director and everything, which was an excellent experience. Back then, Leo Burnett had PepsiCo, several PepsiCo accounts, and I ended up getting more than I bargained for in that experience. I spent about a year and change at Leo Burnett. Then I applied for and got a scholarship through the British Foreign Office, a Chevening scholarship, to study a master's in international marketing in Manchester, in the UK. Did that, then joined Pepsi, my former client, working across the region, really living out of a suitcase. Beirut, Tunisia, Cairo, Casablanca, did the rounds. Then I went back to the US to do an MBA, and again, did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I joined the world of consulting, joined Booz Allen in New York City for several years. Then did my own little consulting gig for a couple of years. Joined Dun & Bradstreet. Then my husband got relocated to Dubai with his work, and I joined Yahoo when I came here. And after 3+ years with Yahoo, I joined Facebook. So a lot of it has to do with life stages, other considerations, but also the common thread between all of these different gigs is that I'm very much interested in management, in opportunities that to lend themselves to be it different types of growth, be it geographic or industry-based growth and so on, and you kind of pick up the thread, if you will.
So with your background in multinational, your current role at Facebook, do you feel that those complement the work with TechWadi and the startup ecosystem?
Sure, absolutely. So actually, TechWadi is an organization that builds bridges or creates connections between Middle Eastern entrepreneurs and different organizations in Silicon Valley. So it's actually based in Silicon Valley, and it leverages a network of the entrepreneurial diaspora, basically, in Silicon Valley. People who have started and grown businesses, mainly tech-based businesses, who are open to lending their expertise, often funding, but also networking to startups in the region, and we help build those bridges. So yes, my work in management / technology and media over the last 20 years or so has helped me understand some of the challenges that these entrepreneurs have, be able to help with the matching of those entrepreneurs with the various experts or tech leaders in Silicon Valley, but also understand the needs of those entrepreneurs, because in my role both at Yahoo and at Facebook, we basically provide the means for entrepreneurs to grow through customer acquisition and helping them understand how to leverage media to grow their businesses.
Who here was familiar with TechWadi prior to this and knows what they do? Okay. So do you maybe want to, this is mostly a room full of entrepreneurs. Do you have suggestions on ways they can benefit from TechWadi?
Sure. So TechWadi, I'm actually not surprised that a lot of people don't know about TechWadi, because up until about 7-8 months ago, TechWadi did not have a presence here in the region. Most of the work that was being done was through people flying out from Silicon Valley for a week or two, and holding an event or two, and so on. Very kind of sporadic. But since maybe April of last year, we made a conscious decision to have sort of feet on the ground, if you will, and start really working with various incubators and organizations that help support entrepreneurs to make those matches and to facilitate the networking and potentially more.
Okay. Do you feel there's unique opportunities in Dubai and the MENA region for startups?
Absolutely. It's virgin territory, really, here. There are 3 to 4 different types of entrepreneurial opportunities. Some that are homegrown, if you will, or that are based on how things are done in this part of the world, if you will. There are scaling opportunities. So when you think about models that exist elsewhere in the world that could find their way here with some sort of an adaptation, that could also be another opportunity. Third type of opportunity is actually more on the CSR front, where there are a lot of structural issues that are impeding growth opportunity for youth in this part of the world that could be solved by entrepreneurs, and that would not be solved by governments anytime soon. So that's another area that potentially is somewhat taken care of in other regions, but isn't here. So there's a multitude of different opportunities. So yes, it's just the sky's the limit, basically.
Okay, and in your opinion, do you genuinely believe that Dubai startups are showing a lot of originality, or do you think it's mostly replicating ideas out of Silicon Valley or elsewhere in the world and just modifying them?
So to be very frank with you, I have not seen a lot of startups in the region who actually are investing in R&D or real technology, if you will. Although, when you think about the number of students who are graduating from technology programs or engineering programs or what have you, I think there's a lot of potential there. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned on my profile because it's relatively recent is the fact that I also sit on the board of the MIT Enterprise Forum. And as we speak, we're actually running a major competition. It's being held in Jeddah, King Abdullah University for Science and Technology, for innovators who are actually coming up with new technologies and new opportunities to leverage those technologies in the region. So I think most of the models that I've seen to date that have had tractions, either through the market or through my work at Facebook or elsewhere, have tended to be replicas of global models. But I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to actually come up with new technologies. I don't see why not.
Okay. Do you think that this region has specific difficulties for starting companies?
The stars really have to be aligned for companies to be successful. And if you look at the ecosystem, there are a lot of things that have to be in place. So one is the governments have to have the right laws and infrastructure and so on in place. So I can give you a minor example. There is no bankruptcy law here, for example. So you get funding, you somehow don't manage to deliver, it's a problem. That said, the governments are also doing a lot of stuff that could help, like sponsoring education, like enabling funds to be set up to support entrepreneurs and so on. So government is one part of the ecosystem. The other part of the ecosystem is funders, independent funders, who actually want to take the risk across the spectrum, from the seed stage, the angel stage, all the way to to the VC stage. And we've seen players start to kind of pop up across that value chain, but I don't know that there's anywhere near enough to actually foster the growth required at the scale we need it to grow. Especially at the front end, especially at the seed and angel stage. I also think that there's a lot of cultural stigma, if you will, working against entrepreneurship. So actually I'm thinking now of when you look at sayings, like common sayings in various Arab markets, you'll find that there's always this glorification of steady government jobs. Most people work in government jobs because they're steady, they're reliable, they allow you to kind of be a recognized member of society. When you move to private, let alone entrepreneurial roles, people kind of look at you in a fishy way. What are you doing exactly? And how is this, what's your title? And so people are conditioned to actually value stable government jobs more than entrepreneurial roles. So people tend to want to take less risk, so to speak. Back to the saying speaks, there's an Egyptian saying that says something to the effect of, if you miss or if you do not manage to get a government job, you should grovel in the dust waiting for the next one. It's that kind of, that kind of mentality. And that needs to be broken because governments are not today, and haven't actually for the last 30 years, been able to provide enough jobs, and given the population growth and the aspiration of most youth in this region, things need to change.
Okay, so in this region, what is your opinion of incubators, accelerators, VCs, angels, bootstrapping? Like, do you see a best option or approach for entrepreneurs?
So I think every effort in this region should be commended, because really people are trying to create something from nothing, and it takes a lot of guts and work and belief in what you're doing. So all the incubators and angel networks and everything else that has popped up over the last 3 to 4 to 5 years is desperately needed. I think there's a lot of structure that needs to happen. There's a lot of networking that needs to happen. There's a lot of communication and coordination that needs to happen among those entities. So for example, if there's an incubator that is working in Dubai, that entity should really be concerning itself with, what am I going to do with my companies when they graduate? Where is the funding for the next stage? Where how are they being educated on basic things, actually, like pitching to VCs, things like that, aside from your actual business? Because if you're unable to interact with the outside world, you're not going to be able to grow and pitch your proposition beyond where you are. So there are elements of education, there are elements of networking, there are elements of basically helping these startups understand how to go about the operational side of the business as well. We think of the region as being a region, but really there are a lot of barriers between the countries. Customs being one of them, for example, or visas, or whatever it is. So helping them, figure out how to operate across these boundaries in order to leverage the scale that the region can potentially provide.
So perhaps investors here have more of a responsibility to educate their entrepreneurs than elsewhere.
Absolutely. There's so much, most people graduate from university without a real understanding, even if they're business graduates, of how to run a business or pitch or present or whatever it is, things that don't necessarily find their way into university programs, and they're key to your success.
Okay, that being said, do you think a background working in business or getting an MBA is essential, irrelevant, or kind of neutral to becoming an entrepreneur?
I think it's always advisable to learn on someone else's dime, if you will, so get the experience. I don't know that an MBA is essential at all, actually. Some people prefer to have it for a multitude of different reasons, but I don't think that it is essential for success as an entrepreneur. I personally don't think so.
Okay. So in your opinion, what do you see the number one reason being that a startup will fail?
Cash is king. So not understanding your cash cycle would be the number one reason. Also, being more focused on the product versus the market tends to be a major problem that people encounter often. So they're obsessed with the business model or the product, and they forget how it's being experienced in the market. And also, I think, other than cash and understanding the user base or user needs, a key part is attention to execution details. When you think about Facebook, so Facebook is a big startup up until this day, and it's a big startup because there is a huge focus on excellence in execution. If you don't do that day in, day out, no matter how big you are, you're going to get slow and you're not going to get where you need to get.
Okay. As we kind of transition to your Facebook advertising background, what are two pieces of advice that you would give for attaining partnerships, press, and customers?
For within the Facebook realm, you mean, or for?
No, in general, for the entrepreneurs in the MENA.
Okay, so Facebook is actually, irrespective of whether I work for Facebook or not, if I had a startup, I would look at Facebook as being really the holy grail in terms of marketing, because it provides a very efficient way of acquiring customers. It is able to do that because of its scale, 120 million people in MENA, but more importantly, personalization. So your ability to target folks by geolocation, by behavior, and on top of the classic, gender and age and all of that. So my ability to communicate to an audience that is receptive to my message gets seriously enhanced by being on their feed, because your feed is very different from mine, and that is probably one of the major considerations that Facebook cares about, your ability to go back to your feed and find it interesting, find that experience rewarding. And because if you don't do that, if you don't find it rewarding, you're not going to come back. And if you don't come back, there is no business, right? So the number one consideration is for the user. And in doing so, it helps advertisers tailor their messages in a very useful way to them, so that they're not experiencing spillage or paying for media that they're not interested in. So that's from the sort of the broader media perspective. But also, and when you think about customer acquisition in the tech space or in most tech startups, it's also about getting somebody to download your app or getting somebody to go to your store or what have you. And Facebook really has a very, very powerful direct response solution, because we're able to, again, target that app or target that message to whoever you're interested in sending it to, track the fact that they have downloaded it, and help you engage those people once they have.
So recently I was reading an article that pages are out and groups are in, and this is a better way to interact with your customers. What's your opinion on that, especially for startups?
So yeah, as with any company or offering, Facebook has been kind of evolving over. It's only 11 years old, but it's been evolving, and at some point it was just an amalgamation of pages. People would go to other people's pages and check them out, and then we introduced the feed, and then everything is coming to you now. So all you have to do is look at your feed, and everything that is relevant to you or to your experience comes through the feed. So now we see very, very little activity of the sort of people going to other people's pages. Most of the time is spent on your feed. Not only that, most of the time is spent on your mobile feed. So 80+% of the people who access Facebook in the region do so on a mobile device. So if your messaging or if your communication is not mobile first or mobile friendly, you're unlikely to get traction on Facebook, or actually any feed-based platform for that matter.
So knowing that all of us have completely different news feeds, do you have suggestions for these companies? You know, what I want to see, what's going to get my interest versus yours is going to be totally different. So how can they make something that feels personal, make that ad feel like something that I did want to see in my news feed?
Yeah, so we actually have the saying that we basically propagate, which is let targeting be your muse. So the more you understand your audience, the more likely you are to develop content that is relevant to them. And now content is, anybody with a smartphone can develop content, right? So that barrier has gone away. You no longer need the huge production studio. So that said, all I need to do as an entrepreneur is understand the various subsegments within my audience, find them on Facebook, because anybody can. It's a self-serve platform. And produce content that is relevant to them. So let's take an example. I have 2 sons who play basketball. And in order to connect with them, I watch NBA games and stats and God knows what else. So seriously, if there was a company that is offering basketball classes and they want to target me, they're going to find me under basketball interest, because I have shown, my behavior has shown on Facebook that I read basketball stuff. So they can then target me and they will find a receptive audience. So understanding who your target audiences are, and you can be very, very focused on segmenting your audiences and produce content that is relevant to them. So I can now, as this basketball training company, say, I'm going to target moms, I'm going to target dads, I'm going to target the kids themselves, and then I'm going to target people who are in Dubai and Sharjah, and produce content that is relevant to them. I can shoot, a 20-second video saying, got a kid that doesn't know what to do over the summer, do this. Targeted, done, right? So understanding your audiences, understanding the power of the platform and the targeting capabilities, and creating content that actually allows them to reach those audiences. And then prompt them. When you think about the marketing funnel, you go from awareness and consideration to action. You can do that. You can do all 3 stages on Facebook. You could start with the ad, and then you can retarget the same people or exclude those people and target others if they've already seen your message, and then go all the way down to now click here and sign up. And you can do that as well. So the sky's the limit in terms of what you can actually do.
Yeah, because they can even upload their current databases, right, and target those people that are
Absolutely.
And then they can even identify, like Facebook will identify lookalikes or people that are.
Exactly. Custom audiences and lookalike audiences. Get those products.
So for the startup, coming from advertising, how vital do you find it to be that they have a logo, they have a brand image before they even get to investing?
So I think it's key because I mean the basics are the basics. That advertising hasn't changed. It's just the way media is being consumed has changed. So when you think about media consumption, 10 years ago, you used to basically sit in front of a screen with your feet up and use your remote control to switch channels. You were pretty much a captive audience, right? So you were willing to watch longer content. You have a different kind of perspective on things. Stuff's happening in the room. It's a different experience. Today, I reach out for my phone about 100 times a day on average. Of those, about 15 or 16 are Facebook sessions, and each one of those sessions are 3 to 5 minutes long. And I'm not a passive kind of person. I am actively scrolling through a feed. And here's a stat that is kind of interesting. Today we consume 27 hours of content in 24 hours. And we do that because we multitask. And our brains have actually morphed, believe it or not, to allow us to be very, very laser sharp in picking what we want and what we don't want. I am able to scroll through a feed, and not just me, everybody else, and know where to stop. And creating this, what we call the thumb-stopping content, that would actually convince me or you or anybody else to give the content a chance is the key here. Once you've engaged me, and that thumb-stopping audition, if you will, is no more than 3 seconds. Beyond that, you're engaged. You're in there, you're going to see the rest. And most people who actually engage or click on a video or engage in content tend to kind of cover a big part of it because it's relevant to them. So back to your point, the content itself has to be relevant, obviously, to the audience. And we don't actually have any thing to do with that part. It has to speak to your values as a company, it has to speak to your product, benefits, and so on. But once you've got that in place, all you really need to do is set up a Facebook page and start learning about your targeting options and how to reach your audiences that way.
So when they don't have the money to approach an ad agency to get the branding and everything like this developed, do you have any tips on how to?
An ad agency, with all due respect, today you can pretty much do. My kids are on their laptops, editing video, creating stuff. Any 10-year-old today can do this. Seriously, I mean, I don't mean to be. So you can do this. There's a lot of software that can help you do this. Create your own logo. You can even test it through SurveyMonkey for free. And the investment that you're making today also on platforms like Facebook do not break the bank. So you can actually put $100 down and test and see what kind of reach you're getting, see what kind of traction you're getting, and test and learn. That's basically what we advise businesses to do.
Okay, so do you have any tips if it's just them and their small team on developing a strong brand image?
I would say, age-old advice. Understand the audience. Figure out what your proposition is, what your USP, if you will, unique selling proposition, and understand how to position yourself versus the competition, or if there is no competition, versus the alternatives to what is out there today, and then test and learn, basically.
Okay, do you have any tips for them on using Facebook? We already talked about it, but for using that as a marketing tool?
Yes, people tend to kind of overcomplicate things when it comes to Facebook. Facebook is a self-serve platform. Anybody with a page has access to dashboards, to targeting. It is designed for individuals to actually operate and operate seamlessly on the platform. So take some time, go through. We actually have a website also called Facebook for Business. There's a small business section in there as well, where you can learn about a product. Any product that is available at any big company is also available to small startups, smaller businesses, and so on. So it kind of levels the playing field, if you will, if you do take the time to learn about new products, new bidding options that would optimize your placement on the platform, how to do targeting, and so on and so forth. You don't need to be a big agency in order to do that.
So Facebook provides
How to
material
do that.
for them, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So what 3 takeaway points of advice would you like to share with the entrepreneurs in the room?
One is, actually, it's a sign we have up in the office. What would you do if you were not afraid? So just think about a world that does not have any of the barriers that you know are daunting for you. Think within that framework, and then you can bring those in the future. But if you don't think without those barriers, first of all, you're going to limit yourself. You're going to have a myopic perspective on things. So that would be sort of the biggest thing I would advocate. I would also, given sort of that grand perspective of think without borders or barriers, I would also say pay attention to the details of how you're doing things. Executional excellence, to me, trumps vision any day. Because if you do what you do well, you're going to find traction. And you're going to build your game and evolve over time. When you think about Facebook, it started out a dorm, and it was a face mash, and it was about, you know, on one campus kind of an exercise. But it was done so well that, you know, it had traction and it grew. So within the startup realm, it's about doing what you do with executional excellence.
Okay. I think I'm going to open it up for Q&A a little early because I feel like we have a pretty engaged audience right now. But before I do that, is there anything that you would like to just share personal advice?
I actually think that now, sort of putting on my TechWeddy and MIT Forum hat, I think that most young people need to be very, very kind of bold and take chances up front. Nothing's going to go wrong. Your experience is going to be valued. You're going to really learn so much more than you would learn if you hadn't gone through this experience. And I think collectively we need to look at failure at whatever you're doing as being a major success, because without that, you're not going to learn. And that's another cultural issue that we have in this region. We don't look at, we actually have a big poster in our office that says, fail hard. So do whatever you're doing, do it, you know, to the utmost. Fail if you must, because if you fail, you're going to learn, you're going to pick up, and you're going to do the next thing even better. So I think diving in, figuring out what you're doing as you're doing it, learn from that experience. Don't be afraid of failing, because at some point that's gonna be very, very rewarding for you.
Questions?
Are there any programs that Facebook has for startups, like an accelerator for Facebook itself? Any events that they do here in the region?
So actually, we were just at the STEP event recently. So just so you know, in terms of structure, we have a group or a division that is focused on small and medium businesses, and they help in various ways through consulting, through providing solutions that lend themselves better to smaller businesses. And there's a whole slew of, you can actually look up the SMB Facebook offering online. They are they tailor their offering to the needs of smaller businesses.
My name is Kailash. I'm running a recruitment agency called MENA. Now, the question to you is that I meet a lot of candidates on a daily basis, and especially from the MBA schools, just fresh out. What I feel that they are actually producing employees, not entrepreneurs. Is Facebook doing anything to collaborate with these universities and kind of create an entrepreneurial skill?
So, on a global level, we have internship programs, both for the engineering track as well as for the business track, if you will. That tends to happen in sort of bigger hubs like the US, like London. Our presence in the region is somewhat smaller. So just from a bandwidth perspective, that kind of does not work for us. But what we do is, myself and various colleagues in the office work with incubators and angel communities and so on to help give advice on how to pitch, how to acquire customers, how to leverage the platform, but it's not a scaled effort, if you will. It's an individual.
But the fact is that there are so many people who actually look up to Google or Facebook and they think of themselves as the next entrepreneur. Shouldn't there be more effort in this region?
Absolutely, but it's a village, as they say. There are various stakeholders here. The platform itself, to be very frank with you, just the existence of the platform is a huge boost to entrepreneurship in the region, because before there was a Facebook, there really wasn't a way for small businesses to acquire customers in an efficient, self-serve manner. Today there is. So taking the time, and most of it, and I will put a lot of emphasis on the self-serve part of it, if you take the time to learn how to leverage the capabilities of the platform, you will get more than you bargained for in terms of your time. So a lot of people kind of are self-taught when it comes to coding, when it comes to understanding different things. I would encourage people to actually spend some time to understand the platform. And if they have any questions or if they would like some support, our SMB team helps with that.
Recently, I'm seeing there's a lot of organizations moving from Facebook to WhatsApp. So is there anything for companies to harness this particular platform? Do you have something for
You're saying, I'm sorry, I didn't get the first
What I'm
part.
seeing is a lot of organizations moving from Facebook to WhatsApp. So now for companies which we are running, is there a way to capture this particular platform? Do you have something?
So I'll take a step back. So Facebook actually owns WhatsApp, Instagram, Messenger, Groups, and Oculus, and this whole portfolio. So WhatsApp is very different from Facebook in the sense that it is a messaging platform. WhatsApp is not a commercial proposition yet. The approach of the company is that we build the right audience, we make sure that we have the right audience and that they have the right product experience first before we think of monetizing it. To date, there are only two products that are monetized within our portfolio, and they are Facebook and Instagram, which only started to be monetized late last year because we felt like the audiences were in place and the product was where it needed to be and so on. But to address your question about messaging products, so actually this week there is the Facebook F8 event where we talk about all the new things that are coming out and so on. One of the things that are definitely scaling from a monetization proposition perspective is messaging, because we believe it has those components of audience and product. The direction that is going is more towards the customer service space. So being able to interact on a one-on-one basis with your customer base and provide an experience that is unique to them, that is personalized to them. KLM, for example, has taken advantage of this and has been part of a beta with Facebook where you can do everything from booking a ticket to getting your boarding pass to asking any other question through Messenger directly with KLM. So that's the kind of experience where this is going. This is extremely relevant to startups because suddenly you don't need you know, that whole outsourced customer service setup, it could be a lot more streamlined, if you will. So that's how we're using the messaging, the messenger specifically. There is no monetization proposition currently for WhatsApp. And Facebook is a different proposition altogether because it is more of a media platform, if you will.
But as a marketer, what we see is a big challenge for us is there are a lot of social conversation moving from Facebook to WhatsApp. So how do I think, especially when it comes to targeting, like you said, how do I go and really get it more into audience, use Facebook as a marketing tool?
120 million people in the region say that. We are also
So
seeing.
it's a big numbers shifting.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm not sure about the numbers. I don't think that there is a shift. In fact, there are folks who are on WhatsApp and there are folks who are on Facebook. Facebook, in terms of numbers and in terms of time spent in the region, is growing markedly. We're seeing our time spent numbers and our user numbers grow. I mean, I joined the company a year plus ago, and we had 79 million people. Today we have 120 million in MENA. So it just goes to show you the kind of the growth. And those people are spending more time. And they're spending more time on products like video, more and more. In fact, the region over-indexes on video compared to global averages. So one of the ways that you as an entrepreneur could think about engaging your or even as any size business, engaging your audiences is leveraging video. And there's a multitude of other products within the portfolio that are available to other people. So to organizations of any size. We have a product called Canvas that has recently been launched. It's basically a microsite within your feed. You can look it up on Facebook for Business. There are various versions of video offerings for markets with lower bandwidth. For example, we have a product called Slideshow where you can literally edit your videos into slideshows for markets that where mobile phones have an issue or a challenge with bandwidth. So there's a multitude of different ways you can actually engage your audience, but I would not agree with you that people are moving from one platform to the other, and I would not agree with you that Facebook is an analogous proposition to WhatsApp. They're complementary.
I think there's a different level of competition happening. If you look at the Facebook, of course, there's a lot of video content and shared. But WhatsApp is very personalized now, and that's what we as a marketer would like to tap into because I don't know what you are talking about.
So there is no feed on WhatsApp, and therefore the discovery component on WhatsApp today does not exist. The feed is the engine that marketers really need to leverage. It is a discovery proposition, and it allows you to, literally when you go through your feed, you don't know what's coming next. The only thing you should probably be aware of is that your behavior on the platform cues or clues the algorithm to serve certain types of content to you, and in order for it to be more personalized and relevant to you. But really, there is no comparable experience to the feed in a messaging app today. It's a different proposition.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about using Instagram? And maybe that seems to be more widely used in Dubai especially. So what do you think the advantages to that?
So Instagram in the region has 33 million people compared to Facebook's 120. So it is a kind of a smaller proposition, if you will. But what Instagram does very, very well is communicate. So we've seen communication online kind of go through a transition, and it's continuing. So we started with text. So if I was on a trip to Italy, I would tell people, "Hi guys, Italy's great," and I would literally, it would be 2 lines. That moved to images, and the reason actually why it moved to images is because they say a picture is worth 1,000 words. We literally need that efficiency. The time that I have to spare almost dictates that I want to get it, and I want to get it very quickly, and your ability to actually identify information on an image or in an image is many multiples that of text. Your brain is conditioned that way. In fact, you could actually, if I showed you an image, you would be able to recognize almost everything in it, color, context, component, everything within 13 milliseconds. And we've done that. We've done that neuro research. So images have taken over, and that has been the reason why Instagram has grown to a great extent, but also for other reasons. One, people want to express themselves through showing their creativity. And the filters and the whole Instagram experience is allowing people to do that and document their lives or create their online presence or their online space, if you will. So plus, Instagram is more of an open platform in the sense that you can pretty much follow anybody. In Facebook, it's going to be a lot very different. You pretty much be stalking people if you did that. So it allows people to reach out to to follow others, and plus I think also a very big part of the Instagram experience is communities. So I might follow you on Instagram not because I know you, but because we share a love of photography, or we share a love of architecture, or whatever it is. So there are very tight and engaged communities that Instagram helps people to tap into and create that engagement that way. So that is the proposition.
So how might they use that to
So-
connect with those communities?
So from a content perspective, understanding what works and what doesn't work on Instagram in terms of the actual content. So looking at, for example, who are the people who have a lot of success on Instagram, who has a lot of followers, how are they positioning their images, what kind of stuff do they do, how often do they post, so taking a look at that. But then when it comes to the actual media part, which is who do I target, how do I target them, and so on, it is the exact same experience as Facebook. Every product and every bidding proposition and every targeting proposition that exists on Facebook exists on Instagram today. So it's, and now in fact, if you have a page on both, you can create campaigns that involve both at the same time, seamlessly. So why would I do that? Why wouldn't I kind of target this platform separately from the other one? Because of different use occasions. So when you look at the course of the day, you'll find that people are on Facebook, then they're on Instagram, then they're on WhatsApp, then they're on Messenger, and then they go back to Instagram. And so getting them in these different occasions is what you want to do, ideally. So you want to have that mix. So you're diversifying your reach approach. So back to your point, looking at content, looking at what is successful and potentially replicating it, steal shamelessly. Understanding the bidding and targeting capabilities of the platform, but if you do that, you can do it actually once for both levels.
And might Instagram be a better platform to make use of like ambassadors of your brand?
So most brands tend to reach out to influencers, if you will, for reach, what we call organic reach. That used to be the case on Facebook as well, by the way. But as more and more content started coming down that feed, Facebook actually had to alter the algorithm to prevent people from reaching you organically. Because think about this. If everybody whose page you have liked is able to reach you, you're never going to see anything you want. It's going to be this barrage of stuff. So we have to alter the algorithm in order to make sure that you're getting what your behavior indicates that you're interested in. So that has diminished the impact of the influencers on Facebook. Now, whether that's going to happen on Instagram as well or not remains to be seen.
Okay, and then we had more questions over here.
In the Facebook, there is an option to search for businesses. Suppose that I want to search dentist in Dubai. So there is an option that I can search for businesses who are registered in Facebook. I do certain optimization, ranking websites and Google. So I want to know that how seriously Facebook is taking this search engine. Like, are they planning to expand this and like Google search engine, or is it just they want to keep it within the Facebook?
So there is no official stance on that right now. All I can tell you is that the search capability within Facebook has continues to improve markedly because we believe that as more and more content comes on the platform, there will be a need for search. So that is something that is definitely happening. Is there a search proposition beyond the platform? I've not heard of one personally.
Back there first.
Yes, I have two questions for you. First one's going to take you back to Facebook. So before I get my startup up and running, does Facebook offer me a way to test the likability of the concept?
Yes. You can run A/B testing on the platform. So again, that $100 that I talked about, and it could be $50, could be whatever. Just split it in half, choose 2 different audiences, and run parallel campaigns.
Even if so I'm not just talking about the campaign, I'm talking about the service that I would like to offer, the product that I would like to offer. Is it okay to set it up, create a sample campaign advertising, and see the traction?
Yeah,
Even if my product doesn't exist yet, and it's still at the
well, it depends on what you want people to do at the end of the day. I mean, if it's a sign up here kind of thing, and then the link doesn't take them anywhere, that's going to be a bad experience. If it's advertising something that doesn't exist at all, I don't know if you want that to kind of come back. It might come back to bite you. But what you can do is you can ask people to, fill out a form, or if you're interested in such a service, sign up. You can do that. They're called lead forms. And test them with 2 different audiences. You can definitely do that.
Thank you. And the second question is it true that the Instagram feed is being changed according to the relevance of posts?
Yes. Again, part of personalization. So as more and more content goes on your feed, we don't want you to be kind of snowed under with irrelevant stuff. So it now becomes your behavior that clues in everything that's happening.
And my behavior is determined by the likes that the pictures that I've liked.
It's determined by a lot of things. It's determined by what you're actually stopping at on your feed, dwell time, pages you're visiting, people you're interacting with, and so on.
Thank you.
The kind of experience that you have, if I come up with something, some application, what is the best way to make it visible and the best way to market it, not limiting it to Facebook as of now? What is your opinion, like how can we market it in the best possible way for Middle East people?
You're talking about an app?
Yeah, I'm talking about an app which is targeted to youth.
To
Youth.
youth. So I will tell you the best way to reach youth is through Facebook in the region. Nobody has this reach. Nobody has 120 million people. In fact, I was just looking up stats today on people under 30, and I think it was north of 70 million. I mean, it was just, the numbers are pretty impressive. Now, audience aside, when it comes to an app, if you want someone to take an action, you really don't have a lot of options, because the proposition that you have on Facebook to download an app, find out who downloaded it, and then subsequently, if you have an SDK component in it, be able to track their engagement going forward, is really, a unique one. So that would pretty much be my choice if I had to start.
Any other platform, like apart from Facebook?
I would probably use Instagram as well if I'm trying to get to young people. And I personally cannot wait until we get Messenger monetized here in the region, because that would be my customer service.
You might be a little biased, but what are your thoughts on using Snapchat?
They don't have a commercial proposition in the region. They don't sell advertising.
Yeah, but to reach, a lot of people are turning to creating like stations or whatever you want to call it on Snapchat to be more of a casual interaction.
So again, I don't have the numbers. I have not seen the numbers on Snapchat. I know that it has traction predominantly with younger audiences, but not seen the numbers, and I know it's not commercially viable proposition in the region. So he asked me about whether you have an app in the region targeting youth, and Snapchat is not an option today. Okay.
We actually started see on the that's we've been given the opportunity to pitch in our idea on a local level, and I just want to know that how can we introduce a concept that is completely new to the market and still gain trust or like still gain the trust of everybody and the business that our app can really sell.
So again, it goes back to the classic marketing funnel, right? So you need to create awareness, and if it's a completely new proposition in terms of either a new service or a new product or what have you, then there's a huge educational component to that. And the more focused you are with that education through your content, the more successful you're likely to be. So understanding the various types of education is extremely important. So for example, if you're launching a new, I don't know, type of line of bags, right, that is for sports use, that are for sports use. Understanding which sports, understanding how the various athletes within those various sports actually use them, and they might be completely different use occasions. There are sports that are predominantly played indoors versus outdoors. There are sports that are predominantly played because of facilities in certain locations. So you might even want to target by geolocation or what have you. So understanding the proposition and what kind of education is required for when I say education, I don't really mean this hefty kind of preaching type of exercise. It could be as simple as a how-to. So maybe creating a how-to video or an instructional video on the product or the service or what have you could be a way of doing that. And we've seen a lot of people do that today. But again, let targeting be your muse. Understand who you're talking to, because for the very first time, you could be talking to a very targeted audience.
Hold on, we're gonna go here and yes, with the same project.
According to him, like if there is a product in the market right now which provides a kind of service which is similar to other things, like analogy. Before coming to Instagram, Facebook used to provide a way to share photographs with everyone. Like my friend used to post a photograph and I can see that. The same thing Instagram is doing. Like Instagram just allows us to follow people to whom we want and they don't know us, according to me. So is there a way to make our product stand in a crowd? Like how can we make this, like our product is better than something else which is really existing right now?
On Facebook or on
Facebook.
So what people see is completely dependent on your privacy settings.
Like I said, the content matters a lot. The content matters a lot. Like the way you said, a picture is a person recognizes a picture in 30 milliseconds in the text. So is there a way like we can promote our product on Facebook without like the traditional ways, like making a page or just posting up an ad and
You can't do anything on Facebook without having a page. You have to have a page because it's an identity-based platform, and that's a huge part of what Facebook provides in order to be able to offer targeting and and tailoring and personalization and so on. So it's a no-starter without a page. You need a page as a business. You need a page as a person. And then posting stuff organically, if you will, and hoping that it'll have virality is exactly that. It's a hope strategy because there is no guarantee that it'll actually reach anyone you want it to reach. So I don't know if that answers your question. Leveraging the commercial proposition of the platform, which is very, very tailored to small businesses as well as bigger ones, in terms of its cost effectiveness versus any other medium and so on, is the way to go about it in a structured manner in order to scale what you're trying to do.
Hi, my question is on two folds. First is being the live video feed that's coming through Facebook, which is being now being made public. How that's going to affect the region, number one. Number two being, can companies have their ad proposition through live video? Let's say we have a campaign can we use live video as an example as for ads? Come to our store today, we're having a sale, using live as opposed to ads.
Yes, you can do whatever you want. It's you can pretty much.
And is that something that most companies can be monetized for? Is that simple and remain free, and how it's going to affect the region?
So using live doesn't cost you anything at all. At any point, it doesn't. It's available to businesses and it's available to individuals. What will cost you money is distributing that. So who's going to see your live video? It'll be the people who have demonstrated an interest in your business, and that is probably in the single-digit percentage of your target market. Not where you want it to be from an efficacy perspective. But let's separate the product from the distribution. You can use video, you can use live, you can use whatever you want to use to your heart's content. You're not going to be charged for it. But getting it to reach the people you want it to reach is something you're going to have to approach in a commercial media perspective. Now, back to your first question, which is how is live going to affect things in the region? I actually think it's a very, very exciting proposition because for the very first time, you actually have a 24/7 live network with everybody contributing to it. It's mind-blowing when you think about the implications. Celebrities, individuals, anybody can actually use the product, and I think it's going to go back to whoever has the most interesting content is going to get the traction.
Do you think that having a Facebook page replace a website?
That is a decision that any company needs to make for themselves, really, because there are certain uses for having a website. So, for example, if I would like to transact on my website, so I'm selling tickets or I am in the e-commerce business or what have you, I need to have a site. Facebook can drive traffic to your site, but you're not going to be able to sell stuff on Facebook. So that is a key decision. If your site is mainly informational, if you will, again, that's a decision that a company needs to make. You can put your content on Facebook, or if you want it to be on your own site, you can. So there is no position, if you will, that the platform has on that. We're there to serve people who have made a decision. I have a site, I don't, and then how to help them propagate their messaging.
Just a simple question. Because people might say about Facebook is like social matters, social network. And other side, for example, indicate business matter. So having advertised so people, their mindset is about to socialize. So and have the business putting there, it doesn't affect people's behavior when they have the mindset about Facebook is a social network with the business. Does that mindset reflect their purchasing behavior or their behavior?
There are 3 million businesses today on Facebook, small businesses, who use their Facebook pages to actually establish and grow their businesses, provide information to their customers, launch their advertising campaigns. So it's a decision they make. They don't want to invest in a website and have that maintained or what have you. Others, beg to differ and want to invest in their sites. And Facebook is not a social network anymore. It is, it's a platform that people engage and interact on, be it for personal reasons or for business reasons.
So is that a brand that is changing, not social?
So it is, our mission is to make the world more open and connected. And that's why we have a portfolio of different products that ranges from messaging to Facebook to Instagram, all the way to virtual reality experiences and so on. So the mission is to keep the world, or to make the world more open and connected in whichever way we can do that. and connecting on everything we do is social, right? I mean, I'm talking to you now, this is a social interaction, right? So I'm not a fan of, framing things and putting them in corners. It really is this seamless experience, and it depends on what you do on the various platforms.
Okay, we're gonna have to wrap it up there, but you may talk to her one-on-one for a little bit afterwards. Please follow us on our meetup page and our website to stay tuned for our upcoming events. Video of this chat will be live on YouTube within next week. And if you'd like to be added to our emailing list about the events, please leave your business card with me or with Gabby. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.